Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the last of The Last of Us. What a good one that is. What a great intro, huh? We're here with episode 9 of season 1 of The Last of Us. Season 2 confirmed on Twitter if it hadn't been confirmed previously. I saw tweets talking about it, and I saw one of the showrunners talking about how it'll be a little bit different from the game, but in some ways it'll be exactly the same or something. Nonetheless, season 2 is coming, probably in like 2 years, because these HBO shows, they take forever. What if they would have to do like 20 episodes if they want to do the whole game, right? That's probably too much, huh? 20? Like 16 episodes or something? HBO doesn't usually do that shit though, does it? Anyway, we can speculate about season 2 at the end of the video. But we have rounded out here the season, episode 9, another odd number of episodes, but it's less than usual, like the 10 Game of Thrones episodes. We're doing 16 more. Well, not 16 more, but 7 more or 6 more than Game of Thrones. Now, that's some crazy shit. Who knows if that's going to happen. CeeLo Pill, what's he saying? I'm going to head out and watch you two talk about Chainsaw Man Part 2 on Secondary ENT. What a great idea after you watch this video to go and watch that video. Also, I think I'll upload this video first, but we've also got talking about the Chainsaw Man anime, episodes 4 or 5 through 9. Or maybe, no, yeah, 5 through 9 with Elite RE, Mia, and Jarky Bacon. That'll be coming out soon. We recorded that last night, though I think it's outdated like today, so I probably should have tried to get it up as quickly as possible. But that's my B, guys. My B. Nonetheless, let's talk about this episode. Only 43 minutes long. We were speculating about how it was going to be an hour and a half or something. It was only 43 minutes, and they kind of got everything in. I could definitely see some people complaining that it potentially was rushed. 43 minutes is kind of short, though, huh? 53 you would expect. 43. Well, I guess it's like a normal episode of TV, like Mad Men episodes are like 42 episodes, right? But that's with the commercial breaks. These shows aren't on TV with commercial breaks. This is HBO, motherfucker. But nonetheless, 43 minutes. Very interesting. I said on Twitter that it was probably my favorite episode, and that's probably true. Probably. I could definitely see some people complaining that it's rushed, though. I haven't seen any reaction. I even clicked on the trending thing on Twitter to try and see any reaction, because I thought maybe people would be negative on it. I wanted to see if they actually were. But when I clicked on it, all I saw were shitty memes about, don't kill the Dr. Joel, I'm begging you, or whatever. I saw that meme about 3 times in 3 different fucking formats. But nonetheless, I was disappointed with the memes. Who would have thought? I don't know if it was rushed per se, but everything did feel really fast. Yeah. But I kind of felt that way last episode, remember? But I liked it much more in this episode, especially if I think it's the best one. But then again, the whole season felt super fast-paced, not just this episode. Yeah. I guess. It definitely feels like more of a journey in the game of like, man, we've been trucking around for a long time. But gameplay segments and you having to die and repeat those a lot obviously adds to that effect, etc. But yeah. What should we talk about first? I guess we should just go in order. Let me just get the fucking binge thing up. And let's scroll through a fucking episode. This always leads to good reviews. Oh, of course, we gotta talk about how I was right! Right, I was. Last week in the preview that I watched before stream. That stream VOD is still up. You can go and check it, me calling it a week in advance. Plus, in the review, I'm pretty sure I reiterated that, oh my god, Ashley Johnson's going to get bit while she's given birth or something, and that's why Ellie's immune, and they're going to try and have that be an explanation. And I said how stupid it would be last time. And then I talked about it in the Discord, because Miller doesn't watch these reviews. What a prick. And I said it to him, and he also said it was stupid, but him saying it was stupid made me defend it, and then made me go, well, I guess it's kind of alright. And then I convinced him that it was kind of alright. So I guess we were right and it's based. So that's what we're up to now in the mental gymnastics game. So I liked it. Ashley Johnson was doing some crazy shit. She was pregnant and stuff. She was fighting off this bloke, stabbing her. She had the knife, Lamau, just like in the comic book that I haven't read, that I'm pretty sure Miller actually did read. The origin of how Ellie got her knife. That was a whole comic book. I can't remember what the comic book was called. American Daughters or something. Hate to say it, but I'm 90%. I'm sure 98% of the people who saw the preview already guessed as well. Nope, I was the first one, and I have the biggest brain. But yes, they did end up doing it. Ashley Johnson was good. She said Ellie, and it's like, oh my god, she's talking to herself. It's like the video game. But yeah, it was cute. I like that scene. We got to sort of, because Marlene really wasn't in the show all that much, and she really isn't in the game all that much. But you have to make up for the voice notes you find in the game that flesh out Marlene, that are completely optional and completely missable. And I'm pretty sure I did miss them the first time. But the performance on those voice notes where she's like, I'm sorry, she says, like, I'm sorry, Anna, or forgive me, Anna, or something, and how, like, the internal conflict within her, those are really good, and I don't think, especially the Marlene's character, anything actually lived up to that, but having this flashback be here did add to it, and did obviously flesh out that she is also going through some sort of internal conflict, and that's to be juxtaposed with Joel, who has really no internal conflict and just wants to do the selfish thing. And funnily enough, Marlene kind of wants to do the selfish thing too. Yeah, because like the selfish thing is to save the world for Marlene. Whereas Joel's like, no, I want daughter. And then he hulks the fuck out and kills everybody. But yeah, the first scene was sick. We got to see Ashley Johnson. Apparently Laura Bailey was one of the nurses. Laura Bailey plays Abby. At the end. I guess we can talk about this right now. All of my comments on all of the previous reviews hinting at Abby and the post-credits Abby scene. We didn't get any of it. I think it probably is preferable to not get any of it. I mean, assuming they do the premise of how their story begins in the second game, you sort of have to have no idea who these characters are. For like the early Owen and Abby scenes to work. There was like a bit of a lingering shot on the doctor on the ground. And it's like, man, Jeremy or whatever his name is, he's dead on the ground. Cool. Last was part 2 stuff. They didn't exactly do the hallway either. Like when I did get the soy boy chills when there was like the elephant and all the animals like painted on it, and I was like, oh yeah, but it wasn't the exact hallway, which I think they probably just couldn't do that, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it would have been cool for that, because I love the repetition of walking down the hallway, especially in part 2, especially because it's so iconic. Great stuff. People believe that a shadowy figure running from Joel was Abby because they have the same haircut. I did see this girl running, but then I'm pretty sure we saw her dead. But the whole point is that she's like, her and Owen are off doing something while it's happening. Like she's not in the building as it happens. But yeah. But also, like, all of their friends are from there, right? And they're all not there either. Or maybe they are just in a different part of the building or something and they don't hear the shots. Because, I forget Isaac in the second game is, like, the Salt Lake crew, which is obviously Abby and all her friends. So, yeah. I don't think so. If they were going to do Abby, I think you do the meme post-credit scene or something. Though I guess if you only show her for like once, I don't know, it would probably be a big actress, right? Because it's a very big part in the second season. So it'd be like, oh, what a big actress there, Lamau. We recognize her. So I'd probably say that's not her, but I don't know. Maybe it is. But what were we talking about before? No Abby crying. We were talking about how I was right about the Ashley Johnson stuff, and now I have the biggest brain. Bravo. Thank you. Then what are the first? Oh, there's also, because then we have to do this sort of Ellie's out of it because of the last episode thing, which is done in the game, probably better and longer. And then they even have the very specific, like, the ladder, I'll boost you up thing, and she ignores. She's not ignoring him, but she's, like, not paying attention because she's thinking about other things. They didn't have the cute shot of the deer monument where it's like, oh, we're thinking about deers and winter still. But I guess it was all done effectively, and then obviously they did do the giraffe scene. It was very cute, just like it is in the game. And it is sort of a pick-me-up for her, and then her and Joel have that conversation about having to continue and not... and, like, what was it all for if we don't go through with it? That was better in the game because it's another scene where they try to do line for line shit, and I was just like, they're not saying the lines correctly, like we've been saying for all of these reviews. Though the opposite happened in a scene that we'll get to in a second, but I had something else to say before we move to that. What was the other point I wanted to make about those early scenes? They just walk through like the tunnel, and there's not like two bloaters in there, and it's like the hardest and the final zombie battle in the game. And they didn't like go through the tunnel and then fall into the water, and they just got flash bombed or whatever, and that's how they got captured. And Joel gets knocked out by the fireflies. But it was cute seeing how like, this is how they're gonna get to that moment in this moment throughout the episode, throughout the series, really. But I think my favorite scene in the episode was, and I think this is originally new, it starts with them talking about Joel's suicide, which I didn't see coming at all, or attempted suicide. I don't remember if that's in like a note in a game that he tried to kill himself after Sarah died or whatever. I guess it's a neat addition to his character in the show. But the scene that follows from that, because if it is a scene from the game, I don't remember it word for word, where the sort of non-verbal admission that like what made him better was Ellie. That was very cute, and he almost cries and everything like that. That was a very, very good scene. Probably the best scene in the episode. It was great. I can't remember the specifics exactly, but I remember thinking, man, what an episode. Not what an episode. What a scene. And I wish there were more scenes, like hyper-emotional climax scenes like that weren't directly from the game. Because again, them saying the lines wrong annoys me a little bit. And then they start doing the puns or whatever. Because a big sort of criticism that I've kind of had in the back of my head is that the relationship really hasn't been fleshed out too much in this show. And that's not even what I mean. It's that it hasn't been... Maybe it is what I mean. It's just like... I don't know if Joel's admitted that he likes Ellie. And Joel in the game never really did... Joel in the game is just overall less emotional, and I think I prefer it. And Ellie is overall more nice, and I prefer it. We've been saying both these things in all of our reviews, but it just creates a very different dynamic. But I felt like it all worked in that scene in the show, where I was like, okay, we're on a similar pedestal here to the game. I guess the game is like subtler, which is very interesting, because you'd think the opposite would be true. But I mean, this is marketed more to TV people, and I guess we're assuming TV people are stupider, and we've got to make it a little bit more obvious to them. But who cares about subtlety anyway? They just haven't had enough scenes together. I don't know if that's the problem. Maybe it is, I guess. Because them walking around in this moment, I was like, man, this is like the best part of the show, and it always is. And I'm like, man, just them dicking around doing nothing. Imagine that. Me liking the characters dicking around and doing nothing, and hating this plot progression. Who would have thought? But yeah, I was like, this is probably the last we're ever going to see of this, except for like the few flashbacks, I guess, that we might do from part 2. But even then, it's kind of different to their dynamic in the first game and in this. I think, and talking about the subtlety thing, and we're kind of jumping all over the place here, but I think it's probably because Joel's lie in the show is more elaborate, of like, raiders attacked the fire and I had to get out of there or whatever. It feels like a more obvious lie, and it feels more obvious that he's done irreparable damage to this relationship. Whereas in the first game, especially finishing it before the second game came out, I was kind of like... I sort of buy into the okay at the end and be like, well, they kind of lived happily ever after. Because I guess I just bought it more, and I thought Ellie bought it more. Whereas in the show, it's like she doesn't buy it at all, and she's like clearly repressing her suspicions because she loves him too, and she would prefer to live ignorantly, blissfully, and happily. God, this second game is so good, and all those emotions, especially when it's in that very first scene. And it's also like Joel completely coming undone. Now, there is a part of this, because he's kind of doing this before the major conflict at the end of the episode in the hospital walk-up scene, where he's like being very obvious and complimentary to Ellie. Whereas in the game, that's sort of left till afterwards, and they mirror that in the episode where they have the same conversation about how Sarah and you would have been good friends, and Joel's like, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to play guitar and all this stuff. Even though I think that in the episode is in the before part. But I don't know. It's sort of that masculine thing of like, no, like they'll never talk to you until they actually start talking to you, and then they dump everything on you, and it's sort of like a desperate plea to seem interesting to retain your attention. I feel like this is the masculine cycle, even in like romantic relationships, where it's sort of stoic, and then they can't stop talking, and they're very vulnerable, and it's kind of cute and kind of pathetic at the same time. With Joel afterwards, and obviously an added layer to that is that he's like lying, and there's sort of a nefarious potentiality to that entire scene. It's very good. But I guess to backtrack, they get captured. I feel like Marlene did a great job again. I guess this all felt very quick again. They're like talking, and I guess it is very quick in the game too. But it's sort of like he wakes up and it's like she's very thankful, and then she switches almost immediately to being like, it's very evident, and she makes it very evident, like she's gonna do everything, even if it means betraying Joel, who she is very thankful to. Then fuck it, because we got to get this fucking vaccine. Also, a very similar thing is just how much of a cunt the guard is, and it's just like, oh, Joel's gonna kill this prick, and it's gonna be great. And he's just being mean and pushing him out. I will say Marlene comes off a little bit more pathetic in the game towards the end than she did in the show, though it's almost an identical scene. But for whatever reason, I got different vibes. I like a lot, and this might be the best scene in the episode, is just Joel killing everybody. It has the game vibe, because there's the sort of like, oh, it's kind of shot from like third person, and he's just going around shooting people, and it is like this almost John Wick scene of he's just killing everybody. And obviously it's very emblematic of how much he cares and how much he is kind of a bad person, especially when that one dude, like, it is definitely less morally neutral than it is in the, well, first of all, the conundrum here is a very exciting and interesting one, and actually kind of an unanswerable one, which makes it a very unique conflict, especially to have at the end of a game. But what the fuck was I saying? He shoots the dude that surrenders, which obviously doesn't really happen in the game. So it's like how ruthless, and it sort of shows like Joel is very naked in this scene. Like he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, everything he has been, everything he is now, and them colliding when he was sort of this maniac just surviving, and sort of the protective father in him, and them clashing and almost becoming one as he go. It's just a great scene, and the music is very, very good and everything. Just what a television program this was. Best episode. And then obviously he gets into the room. And I like how it's kind of slow once he gets into the operating room, and it's just like they don't even realize he's there initially, and then it's like, obviously fucking Abby's dad is like, I'm not going to let you do this, and he just shoots him in the head. And the nurses back off and everything. Should have killed the nurses, like I did in the game. I can't leave anybody's left behind. Obviously, the run out is like an iconic moment for the game that they didn't really recreate. Like the adrenaline of the moment, the ascendancy of the moment. What word am I looking for here? The franticness of the moment. That's not the word either. But I think they overall describe what I'm trying to portray here. It's like, oh, you gotta fucking run, and it's an adrenaline pumping fucking scene. And he gets out, and yeah. They also kept the like cut from Marlene parlaying with him to him in the car. It's like, oh, did he leave her? But no, he took her. And her turning around like she doesn't believe him, and she's also upset, etc., etc. And it was all for nothing. Oh no. it's all just great, and it's carried over from the game. But let me catch up on chat real quick. It's popular sentiment. It's a popular sentiment between the game fans that the Fireflies didn't actually have a good plan for a cure, right? I didn't get that at all from the episode. I think that's massive copium. The more I've thought about that, because I kind of believe that at some point, but no, obviously the interesting, like, thematic turmoil at the end, the thematic conflict, the moral conflict, is that Joel is dooming the world to save his daughter. And sort of the moral conundrum of, like, would you allow your kid to die to give a cure to everybody else's kids, or you'd say fuck them kids and save your own kid? And the probable answer is that everybody would probably do what Joel did. I think I can't even remember if his name is Jeremy, but Abby's dad even says that in a scene in the second game, and Abby is sort of empathizing with it. What a hypocrite that Abby ends up being, huh? What a great video game. Layers on layers on layers. But yeah, that's so much more interesting. Like, I don't know. Part of that is, like, because Joseph Anderson says that in a pretty big video he did, so a lot of people parrot that, and part of it is, like, the Joel defense squad of, like, Fireflies couldn't actually do anything. Joel, actually, there was no moral conundrum. Joel isn't bad at all, and he just saved Ellie, and that sort of stuff. I feel like the second game really tries to establish that the doctor that Joel kills were the only people capable of making a vaccine, even if that is contrived. Yeah, kind of. Even though if there is a third game, the only conceivable plotline that I can come up with for Abby and Ellie both being in it, I mean, fuck it, just do an Abby game, but the people obviously wouldn't like that, is that, like, Abby has to find another doctor because she's with the Fireflies again, and she would go to Ellie and see if Ellie would still want to do it. Because, again, part of the moral conflict is that Joel knows that if Ellie was given the decision, she would almost certainly choose to sacrifice herself. And obviously she's very upset in the second game when she finds out about all this. Layers on layers on layers. But also, it would be interesting to see if Ellie's, like, has changed, because obviously she changes a lot in the second game. But yeah, great. Also, first time chatting for Red Millionaire in chat. Welcome. But yes, what an interesting ending to a game, to a TV series, to everything for The Last of Us. Maybe this part 1 game is much better. I do plan on replaying the first game soon. I actually got my brother to re-download it on the PS4 because I very, very rarely play it, but I also want to collect footage for it to eventually use in some sort of videos, and I've also got to play through part 2 again to get footage to make the videos eventually, hopefully. So that's sort of the plan there. When I'm going to get the time to do that, I don't fucking know. But I guess we kind of talked about the rest of it. The only other big note I want to make is that they... Oh, actually, something I was saying is that I'm not certain that show Ellie would sacrifice herself for the rest of humanity. Because, again, sort of the niceness isn't there that game Ellie has, where you're like, yeah, game Ellie probably would. I guess everything she's done is weighing on her, and she might want to repent. That is definitely portrayed in the episode, so maybe she still would. I mean, she, like, in the show she would, but I'm saying, like, does that feel consistent? Obviously, they want us to think she would have, because Marlene brings it up directly. Though it could just be Marlene bullshitting, but probably not. Utilitarianism is cringe anyway. Joel based for offing the doctors. Okay, Heath. Heath has solved the moral conundrum for us all. The last thing was that they basically did the exact same ending with the same music cue. Now, my personal story with The Last of Us is that going through it, I didn't know if, like, I don't know. I don't know what I thought about it as I was going through it. I was definitely having fun and stuff, and it was cool. But I remember getting to the end scene and sort of getting caught off guard by the credits coming after the okay, and just thinking it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen with the music swelling. And because obviously they replayed the specific music swelling in the very opening bit of The Last of Us Part 2, and I remember getting soy boy chills reflecting on it then. I got the soy boy chills again as I tweeted when we ended this episode with the same thing. It's just a great ending. I love the implication. I love the even the acting in this scene, even though, again, they did the exact same lines. I thought it was pretty good here. I don't know, the swear to me interruption of him going off on, like, happy tangents. It's just so good. I don't know, it's so Druckmannized. Everybody, we got to get Druckmannized out here. But yeah, it's so fucking good. We love this shit. We'll probably only be going for 20 minutes again. Is this going to be another short review? But I like the episode so much. Anybody in chat got anything else to say? They're back in Jacksonville. Wait, no, that's in Florida. That's where AEW is based out of. It's just Jackson. You fucking idiots. I feel, and I can't remember, but I feel like in the game, it's sort of a more sudden cut to credits, whereas in the show, there's sort of like 3 seconds after she says okay. But there's definitely a pause after she says okay before the credits roll. They play the same credits song too. It's pretty cool. What a television program. I think that is really all I had to say. Very good television program. We love it. I really do think it was my favorite episode. Overall, do we give the show overall an 8 or a 9? I don't know. What do we give the original game? We got to replay it and then I'll think through these things. They'll probably both... Maybe the show's an 8 and the game's a 9, because I still think I prefer the game in most regards. But it's like not by much. And I think, again, the line-by-line things are probably what make me... It's the only drawback of the show, I think. I don't know. My feelings, my emotions, my thoughts are a little conflicted here. I'm too contrarian to watch the first season. When they cover the second game, I'll be the biggest Abby stan. Interesting. So you haven't even watched the show. That's interesting. What's better, House of the Dragon or this? I definitely had more fun at certain parts watching House of the Dragon. But my meme saying now about House of the Dragon is like, oh, sure was the greatest show of all time for 5 episodes. Then fell off. House of the Dragon is probably better. Now, the realist question is like, is the best bit of Game of Thrones better than The Last of Us Part 2? The answer is probably no. Do I like The Last of Us more than Game of Thrones? Now, I want to say like A Song of Ice and Fire, but I just haven't read enough of the books, but they're so good. I don't know. I hold in great regard both these things, I guess. The best bits of House of the Dragon, I think, are better than the best bits of Game of Thrones. And I'm pretty sure that's a very controversial opinion. Man, those first 5 episodes are just the best. And then they got rid of Millie Alcock and everything died. I don't know. I would have to think about that more too. Probably House of the Dragon. The Last of Us is more consistent, I guess. It's so interesting because they are sort of both fantasy world settings, I guess. But The Last of Us feels so much realer. Now, it would seem obvious. This show's got dragons, it's in fake medieval, and this is just in the future with zombies. But it's definitely in the descriptive way the characters are written. But I think that's just another Druckmannization. Because that's a very poignant thing, I think, in all of the Last of Us related stuff. And even in Uncharted 4, though to a lesser degree, because it's still trying to do the Uncharted type things. Uncharted 4, what a video game. Good things. Good things. Everything's good. We love everything here. We ended up not getting Elite Ari for this. What a coward. He's still in like episode 4 or some shit. I don't know if anybody in the Discord is actually caught up. To The Last of Us like me. Oh, I get to put it on my media thingy now. Isn't that fun and exciting? But yes. There will be more Last of Us content at some point. Maybe after I replay the game, I'll do a video, a secondary ENT video. I do think I want to do a scripted video, sort of comparing the game and the show. I obviously have those a million videos I want to do about The Last of Us Part 2 that'll never happen. And I'm crying right now because they're never going to happen, and I'm just so mad, and I'm supposed to be doing them for 2 years, and it's almost, oh my god, it's going to be 3 years in 3 months. That's fucking insane! Anyway. There'll be more Last of Us content. Don't think we're dying a death here. And plus, Season 2 has to come out at some point, right? And I assume we'll still be around by then, probably in 2 years or something to talk about it. But with that being said, we're going to sign off here. Support links in the description below. Thanks!